Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 20th, 2026, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order. Chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilor Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, Joshua Torres, Councilmember Joe Tate is joining us remotely, and Councilor Joe Aspiro is absent this evening. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility, as the presiding officer, I'm to identify Sergeant of Arms tonight. Tonight we have Police Chief Corey Kuhn in the back of the room. Thank you, Chief Kuhn. If everyone please stand, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, under general announcements and reports, I need to report that the agenda was amended on Monday with the removal of item number 10 from the consent calendar, a proposed resolution for purchase 1788 to CompuNet Inc. for services and equipment. The costs increased from the original quote amount, and that's the reason for the removal. Item 22 has also been removed from the agenda. This item pertained to the appeal hearing regarding the denial of the Sandpoint Showdown 2026 special event permit. For the members of the public in attendance this evening, if you wish to speak during this evening's general public comment portion of the meeting, please complete a comment sign-up form and hand it to staff at the back table. Please note that our general comment time following announcements and reports will be the only opportunity for public comment regarding new and old business and consent calendar items other than general matters not on the agenda that are pertinent to the business of Sandpoint. First off, we do have, it's a busy month of May. We do have a couple of proclamations. The first is the Firefighters Proclamation. Whereas May 2nd and 3rd, 2026 was designated as National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend in the U.S., honoring firefighters and emergency service personnel who have sacrificed their lives to save others. Whereas firefighters and emergency service personnel play an essential role in the protection of lives and property in our community and communities across the nation, with International Firefighters Day also recognized during the Memorial Weekend on May 4th, 2026. Whereas an average of 80 firefighters courageously make the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty each year. Whereas it's imperative that our elected and appointed officials and all community members do our part to increase efforts to reduce deaths, injuries, and property from loss of fire. Now I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, call upon our citizens, businesses, and organizations to remember the fire and emergency personnel who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of their community and to pay respect to the survivors of those fallen heroes. Further, I encourage all of us to recognize the courageous and essential work of dedicated fire and emergency service personnel in our community, including members of our own Sandpoint Fire Department, who by faithful and loyal devotion to their duties render invaluable service to our community. Proclaim this 20th day of May 2026 in the city of Sandpoint, Bonner County, Idaho. I'd also like to call Chief Gilchrist to the podium and present this proclamation, and any remarks you'd like to make, Chief, if you're welcome to proceed with your department report.
Good Council, Mayor. The only real comment that I have on the National Fallen Firefighters Weekend is the last time I was in Emmitsburg, the flag at the memorial was actually at full staff. And it's such a rare occasion, they basically let everybody's classes out so they could all go take pictures of it. It's never up all the way. So that was kind of just a reminder of what it is that we do and sometimes how dangerous it can be. That's the only real comment I had about it. So
we love you. Thanks, Chief. And here's a copy of the proclamation for the department's files. Thank you and everyone else for what they do. Yeah. I've seen you in action and it is heroic. Thanks. Thank you. Any reports, Chief, while you're up here? I'll save you a trip. Okay.
I have a question on your report. Is this not the time?
Yeah. While he's up here, absolutely. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Understand. Fire compliant versus deficient systems. What systems?
So the systems that we track through the compliance engine are automatic fire sprinkler systems, the cooking range, the extinguishing systems like in restaurants, things like that.
So it's all commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
No, no worries.
Excellent. Well, as I mentioned, it is a busy month, and the next proclamation is Peace Officers Proclamation. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation designating May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which that date falls was designated as National Police Week, recognized this year as May 10th through May 16th. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Sandpoint Police Department who stand watch over our citizens, families, neighborhoods, businesses, and serving as essential roles in protecting life, property, and safeguarding our rights and freedoms as Americans. Whereas during Police Week and on Police Officers Memorial Day, tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the world converge on our nation's capital and gather with their families and neighbors in their own jurisdictions to honor those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in service to their communities. And whereas the city of Sandpoint is sincerely grateful for our local officers who have answered the call to obtain the necessary professional training and certifications and put on the uniform and the badge every day, making significant contributions to maintain our safe, friendly town where we can enjoy and feel confident and secure working, living, recreating, and raising our children. Now, therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, Idaho, do hereby proclaim May 10th through 16th as National Police Week and May 15th as Police Officers Memorial Day in Sandpoint. Publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation, and encourage all citizens to take time to acknowledge and appreciate our police officers and honor all police officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. Proclaimed this 20th day of May, 2026 in the city of Sandpoint. This time I'd like to call Chief Kuhn to the podium, present this proclamation, and provide any reports or answer any questions in the council on his monthly report. Chief, thank you and everyone else.
Thank you.
Any thing to report other than your report?
Just first, thank you. It's nice to be recognized and feel appreciated. We're grateful for a council and community that continues to extend their love and appreciation for the work that not only we do here in Sandpoint, but within our county and across our nation. So just a big thank you from us. With that being said, if you've read my staff report, one of the things that I wanted to echo today, and when I had just a chance, was the autism awareness. So we had a big campaign this last week. We met with some family members who have kids that have autism. We had a fantastic, probably 2-hour conversation about some of the things that we can do to help them and help the police department. One of the things we're going to start working on, which we've already started with our IT department, is creating some links on our webpage where individuals can go online and fill out some forms to help give us some heads up on those kids who may have some autism, link a photo we can put in our system. It just helps us when we respond to some of those calls so we know what's going on. We're going to extend it all the way down to people that have maybe mental health issues. Also, like Alzheimer's, we do get in the city where people will walk away from homes. Either that's their personal home or whether it's one of the care facilities. Having some of that photos, some identification so we can help find them is critical. So talk with IT today. They're working on those forms right now where they can link them to our system. So hopefully that'll be up and running, and I'll stay tuned and I'll let you guys know when that's up. So
thanks, Chief. Chief, I had a question, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate for your answer. It's not a legal question. No worries, attorneys. I think many of us received an Amber Alert about a dangerous situation in the Samuels area today. Do you have any idea if the suspect has been apprehended, or is he still at large, or she?
He has been arrested and taken into custody.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for the chief?
Thanks, sir.
All right, council, this is a record. They kind of stacked up like this. One last proclamation. It's National Boating Week. National Boating Week proclamation with our proximity and adjacency to the lake. Whereas in Sandpoint and across the nation, boating is a popular recreational activity enjoyed by over 100 million Americans who with people taking to the water, boat, sail, paddle, and fish from coast to coast, everywhere in between. Whereas on average, tragically, 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., with the Coast Guard estimating that human error accounts for most boating accidents and that life jackets could prevent nearly 75% of boating fatalities. Whereas safe boating begins with preparation through basic safety procedures by carrying life-saving and emergency distress and communications equipment, wearing life jackets, attending safe boating courses, participating in free boating safety checks, and staying sober while navigating. We can help ensure boaters on America's coastal, inland, and offshore waters stay safe throughout the season. Whereas National Safe Boating Week is observed annually to bring attention to the important life-saving tips for recreational boaters in an effort to promote safer, more enjoyable experience on the water, with the U.S. Coast Guard and the National Safe Boating Council, along with federal, state, and local partners encouraging safe boating practices. Now, therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, Idaho, do hereby support the goals of the Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 16th to 22nd, 2026 as National Safe Boating Week in Sandpoint and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. Further, I urge all boaters in our community to always practice safe boating habits and remember to wear your life jackets and stay sober. Proclaim this 20th day of May, 2026 in the city of Sandpoint, Bonner County, Idaho. If you're new here, I can remember at least, it seems like every year there's 1 or 2 fatalities out on the lake. So be safe if you're out there, and the lake is rising. So it is that season. Next, announcements and reports. I have no announcements or reports. Do council members have any announcements or reports?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, thanks. The Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee met on their regular scheduled day of May 14th. We had an update on the downtown revitalization phase 3 project. There's a pretty robust conversation about bike lanes and share markings at Division and Pine, where that sidewalk project is going on, and how cyclists are intended to use that intersection after the work is complete. Had an update from the team reports, the only one of which right now is a bicycle-oriented team. And then a short update from Planning and Zoning from our staff liaison, Eric Brubaker. I also let them know about our conversation in our strategic planning meeting, where we agreed that e-bike regulations were a topic that we'd like their committee to take up. And there was a great preliminary discussion on that, but I think it's going to be a topic that takes a significant amount of their time for the next few meetings. So that's all.
Excellent, Councilman Schreiber. And I just note to the public and to council members, we do have opening on the ped bike. I do have one applicant right now, but I'm holding that open. We've advertised it again just to see if there's more folks interested in participating in that important committee. So if you know anyone, tell them to get their interest letters and applications in. It pays, I think, $0, but we do appreciate the dedicated time that these citizens put in those committees. Any other council announcements, reports?
Yep.
Councilman Torres?
So for the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission, they met on May 12th at 8:30 a.m. And there's mainly 2 things to emphasize here is the City Beach basketball court and the downtown street lamp banners. There is both RFPs are posted for solicitations tab on the city website and close on Thursday, May 28th. And this is a call for art, an open call for art for those 2 things. So, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Councilman Torres. Any other council announcements, reports?
Yes, I do.
President?
Well, I just had a mention to Holly that there's still a road closed sign at Olive and Michigan, and I think that was put there for the Pine Street closure, but it seems like they haven't collected that sign. So I don't know who needs to be informed, and I'm pretty sure it was still there today. My second announcement would just be to let staff and my other counselors know that I will not be in attendance at our next council meeting. I will be out of town traveling internationally. And then for my third announcement, I'd like to make a motion to table indefinitely items 16 and 17 under the public hearings heading. I've had conversations with legal counsel and law enforcement, and this does not appear to be a crisis for Sandpoint at this point in time. This is a complex issue, as evident by public comment from other states as distant as Virginia and far-off towns in southern Idaho. In addition, intoxicating substances are regulated at the state and federal level. whether there's agreement or not on the local level with that. This tends to create a lot of confusion for individuals on either side of this issue. So I'm asking my fellow counselors to table this item to such a time that we have more input from state and federal level.
Thank you for your motion. That was announcements and reports, but are there any other announcements and reports, or is it appropriate to act on the motion, legal? Act on the motion. Council, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Movement by Council President Rule, second by Councilman Schreiber to table indefinitely any public hearings or the proposed ordinance that are brought forward for the ban of sale of kratom in the city of Sandpoint due to, I believe there's existing, he said there's existing regulatory framework for it right now, and that it's confusing. There hasn't been enough time to understand the issue. So with that, council discussion.
Mr. Mayor and
Council President Duquette.
Rule, I totally agree. I think it's not the right time to be dealing with this. Between banning and regulation, there's so much. All of the emails that we got were very informative, but also it seemed most people were pushing towards regulation, not banning. And there's two different things. There's the leaf and the drink and the synthetic. And yeah, I don't think it's a good thing for us to approach at this time either.
Any other council discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, I would just add that there was strong indication from nearly every state legislator that that item is going to be taken up in the upcoming session. So I would suggest we just wait and see what the state gives us as far as direction.
Any other council discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Torres.
Yes.
And
Mr. Motion. passes.
Counselor,
He's not on.
we don't have a quorum.
You do.
Do we? Oh, wait, we have 4. Sorry, I didn't count myself. Late in the day, too busy of a brain.
Just for the record, Councilman Tate is not in attendance, and I believe that motion passed unanimously for the council members present. Any other council announcements or reports? All right, moving on. Next, we'll proceed with the public comment portion. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go for some quick staff reports. Any staff reports from the back table? I see no staff members. I guess their reports were sufficient. Next, we'll proceed with the public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to speak and haven't yet completed a sign-up form, please do so and hand it to a staff member at the back of the room. If you'd like to speak on any item included on this evening's agenda under the consent calendar or old or new business that is not a hearing, now is your opportunity to do so. For purposes of general public forum, you're also welcome to comment on any topic pertinent to the business of the city that is not included on the agenda. Those attending remotely who wish to speak may raise a hand on Zoom at this time. I'd like to make everyone aware that the city does have a public policy on meeting decorum. The rules are posted outside the chamber's entry door. In summary, I would ask that everyone please be pleasant and respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be disorderly or disruptive, no calling out, clapping, or holding up signs. Please note that the council cannot take testimony on any planning-related matter outside of the official public hearing. Public comment time is for comments only, no questions or debate. You are welcome to contact me during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns about the city's operations. This is the only general public comment time that will be offered this evening. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name and whether you reside in Sandpoint city limits. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, does anyone sign to speak during the public comment time?
Yes, first we have Barrett Olstead.
Good evening, Barry.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Legal Assistant, Legal Team. So I had announced a couple of weeks ago that I was able to persuade the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to bring an event here to Sandpoint. And I have some more details. So what I'd like to do is just read the letter that I put together earlier that I'm going to send out to potential sponsors and people that are interested in participating. Dear community partner, we're excited to invite you to become a sponsor of the 2026 Tunnel Towers 5K Run, Walk, and Climb in Sandpoint, Idaho, taking place on Saturday, July 4th, 2026. The opening ceremony begins at 7 a.m. The 5 p.m. Beg your pardon, the 5K Run Walk will begin at 7:30 at the south side of the Long Bridge and will cross the bridge in honor of our nation's heroes. The stadium climb begins at 8:46 at War Memorial Field and will consist of 17 revolutions of the main bleachers in remembrance of the sacrifice made on September 11th, 2001. This year carries especially deep significance as we commemorate the 25th anniversary of September 11th and celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. We believe there could not be a more meaningful year to launch this event in Sandpoint and unite our community in remembrance, patriotism, service, and support for our nation's heroes. This inspiring national event honors the sacrifice and service of our military members, veterans, first responders, and the heroes of September 11th. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation was created in memory of Fire Department New York firefighter Stephen Stiller, who gave his life saving others on 9/11. Today continues to support catastrophically injured veterans and first responders through mortgage-free smart homes and other life-changing programs. This will also bring together families, businesses, first responders, veterans, and community members for a powerful morning of remembrance and patriotism and community spirit, all while raising funds for an incredible cause right here through the participation and support. We would be honored to have you or your business join us as a sponsor. And I'm not going to go through all the levels of sponsoring. I'm just going to kind of skip to the back and essentially say we also would encourage not only sponsorship, but businesses, organizations, and families to create company or family teams to participate in this meaningful community event. This event's more than a race. It's an opportunity for our community to stand together, honor our nation's heroes, and support programs that directly impact first responders and their families. So anyhow, I'd like to first ask for just folks to get a hold of me for volunteer opportunities. I have 1,000 flyers that I need to get posted. And what else? The information is all on the t2t.org website. The website directly for Sandpoint is the Sandpoint Climb at t2t.org. And just more importantly, just show up. You know, the sponsorship's important, but that's not the most important piece of the equation. It's participation and just coming together as a community. And I close with just, gratitude for our fire department, our police department, and first responders. And so I am the volunteer team, but there's no I in team, and I am the only person on this team. So if anyone's interested in participating and helping me with this event, by all means, let me know. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Terry Pardini.
Terry Pardini, city resident. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. I'm going to be really quick tonight. Kyle, when he gave his report, just made me think of something that has been driving me crazy, and I thought I've never addressed it with the city council or the mayor, and it is, I don't know if they're called e-bikes or if they're motorbikes, but I walk all over town, and I have almost been taken out many times by kids riding these bikes. And my brain says to ride a motorized vehicle, you need to have a driver's license and wear a helmet. But apparently you don't. And I just wonder if we have any rules or laws about elementary school kids and middle school kids riding their bicycles, not in the bike lane, but up on the sidewalk, if they can even do it, if it's even legal. So I'm worried that as they zip by my house going extremely fast, not the speed that you could go if you were pedaling, that something's going to happen and it's not going to be pretty, and whoever hits them or gets hit by them, it's going to be bad. So if we don't have ordinances or rules now, I think we need to think about putting them in place, because there are many that go by my house every day after school, and they are definitely not mentally able to know how fast or how well they should be driving these vehicles. So I urge you to pedestrian, maybe I'll even apply, Kyle, to be on your committee. But anyway, I just urge you to think about it because it's just a tragedy waiting to happen. And I see them every day. So thanks and
Thanks,
have a
Terry.
good Memorial Day weekend.
Well, it looks like we have 3 raised hands on Zoom. Okay, the first one is Laura Romney.
Hi, Laura, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can. All right, Laura, you have 3 minutes.
Great. Yes. I appreciate you letting me speak tonight. I'm calling or speaking about the Kratom ordinance that you are going to be covering today. I did send you a couple of emails with some information and some science and some backup about some compliance documents that will really, really help your city. I myself am a 9-year Kratom consumer. I have a severe condition called atypical trigeminal neuralgia. It's actually nicknamed the suicide disease because the pain is so bad. And I mean, I've gone through everything down to brain surgery and a stimulator implant in my face, and my life was just not in a good place. And then I found Kratom, and it really did change my life. Has allowed me to work full time, to be able to take care of my kids. I'm actually on my way to play my flute tonight in a band. And I mean, again, I have quality of life because of Kratom. One thing I do want to encourage you is that your city absolutely 100% needs to set an ordinance. You need to get regulation in place. There is not anything in place right now. And so a teen could go in and buy these really dangerous, what they are, they're called 7-OH. They're synthetic products. There's other synthetics as well, thinking that they're innocent products, and they're not. They are very dangerous. They're very addictive, and they have been shown to suppress breathing. They have no science behind them. Now, on the other hand, natural leaf kratom has been used for thousands of years in Southeast Asia, and people like myself and many others really do depend on these natural kratom products to be able to have their quality of life. And so the solution is to actually set an ordinance where you do set things like an age gate. You have, and you specifically said, these are the kind of packaging we want. We don't want it attractive to children. It's got serving size information, FDA information. And then also, most importantly, set the amount of 7-OH that's allowed in the product so that, all of the dangerous products are taken off your shelves. And so I just want to encourage you to please follow the science. Look at places like NIDA, which are in full support of natural leaf kratom. The FDA and the Health and Human Services came out in July and said that they are actually ready to push the DEA. Well, they have pushed the DEA to schedule 7-OH products. And so, again, they kept saying specifically, we're not interested in natural leaf kratom products because we do know they help people. So, again, I just encourage you to read those emails. I'd be happy to speak with you and reach out to you. I actually live in Utah. I didn't tell you that. So I'm actually not, too far away. And but I'd love to work with you, answer any questions you have, because this is very personal to me, and my life depends on it, along with a lot of other people. So again, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Laura.
Mr. Mayor, I'd request that if people in the public comment tonight are wanting to speak on the item we removed, that we let them know that we've removed that.
I will try to interrupt the next speaker if that happens.
Next we have Misty Brown.
Good evening, Misty. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can. And Misty, if you're speaking,
I understand. I've been here since the beginning. I do like to echo what Laura said. Whenever you guys do bring it back to the table, to follow proper ordinance, like what she was covering. But I wanted to take this time to thank you guys for tabling it indefinitely, and reading our emails. That means a lot. My name is Misty Brown, and I live in Colorado. And I don't have no financial interest in this at all. I'm just a kratom consumer, advocate, activist that follows all legislation. So you guys did great tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Misty.
Next, we have Shannon Lee.
Shannon, can you
Yes.
hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead, Shannon. You have
Hi.
3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Shannon, and I'm a lifelong resident. I'm actually from Massachusetts. I'm here today to share my testimony regarding the vital role natural leaf kratom has played in my life and to urge you to consider regulation rather than a total ban. I am a healthcare worker. In 2017, I suffered from chronic pain so severe that it led to countless ER and doctor's visits and many days out of work. Finding natural kratom has been a miracle for me and many others who seek natural pain relief. It is absolutely terrifying if natural kratom is banned. Many who depend on this natural plant would be left without options or forced to turn to prescribed opioids. Natural leaf kratom is not an opioid. Synthetic 7-OH is, and it's dangerous and addictive and should be totally banned. It is not the same as, 7-OH is not the same as natural kratom. However, natural kratom is a God-given plant that provides pain relief without the risk associated with synthetics or opioids like 7-OH. Rhode Island, my neighbor, reversed the ban as of April 1st, 2026, after this scientific research was done. Even the FDA announced at the July 29th, 2025 press conference they are not interested in scheduling kratom, but rather than banning synthetic 7-OH. I ask that you please take my testimony into account and the many others who have reached out. A total ban would be devastating to our state and our country, and many individuals who rely on this natural plant for quality of, natural, oh my God, for quality of life. Please consider regulating natural kratom and banning synthetic 7-OH. And I also wanted to add that, just to clarify that I'm not a paid advocate. I'm deeply committed to advocating against the ban of natural leaf kratom. I advocate all across the country to support those who are not able to speak at these meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shanley.
Okay, next we have Mike Fasano.
Hello,
Good
my name is. Hello.
Can you can hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, and you have 3 minutes. And just if you haven't been following, the council has moved to table the kratom, but you're free to speak on it if you'd like.
Okay, I just want to thank you guys for tabling it, and I agree a sentiment about regulation and age restrictions. I've been a kratom consumer for over 15 years. I'm healthy, I'm functional, I'm a productive member of society. I mainly consume it for chronic insomnia, also joint pains. And I just want to say that I know I'm from Illinois, but I care about the consumers in Idaho and everywhere around this country. And I want to thank you for letting me the time to speak today. And I'm just doing this on behalf of on myself and others. I don't get paid anything. And I just want to thank you guys tonight for tabling it. And have a good night.
Thanks, Mike.
That's it for Zoom, but we have Gina Rogers who is in here.
Hi, Gina.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'll try to make this quick because I know you're probably tired of hearing about kratom. But again, my name is Gina Rogers. I'm from Rathdrum, Idaho. I'm here because I do care very much about responsible policy regarding kratom and public safety. As someone who's been involved with kratom for over 10 years, I want to start by acknowledging something important. There are products being sold right now under the umbrella of kratom that deserve concern and scrutiny. Highly concentrated synthetic 7-hydroxymetrogenine products, often called 7-OH, are not the same thing as traditional plain leaf kratom, and I believe that's critical for policymakers to understand that distinction before considering any type of bans. Plain leaf kratom is a natural botanical that's been used responsibly by adults in the United States for more than 2 decades. Like many adults, I personally use plain leaf kratom as part of my wellness routine for energy and focus. And I know many responsible consumers, including working professionals and elderly individuals who use it safely. The products creating concern nationwide are often chemically altered or synthetic derivatives designed to produce much stronger effects than traditional plain leaf kratom ever would. These products are increasingly being marketed in ways that blur the lines between natural kratom and manufactured products, and I understand why that raises alarms. But banning all kratom because of those products would be like banning coffee because someone created a dangerous synthetic caffeine product, like taking 1 milligram of caffeine, adding 10 milligrams of morphine, and dressing it up in a fancy cup and calling the finished product coffee. Bans do not eliminate demand. They push consumers away from accountable local businesses and into unregulated online or underground markets where those products are less transparent and potentially more dangerous. If the city's concern is about public safety, then the better approach is targeted regulation like age restrictions, labeling requirements, and limits on adulterated or artificially enhanced products. I do also have just a sample ordinance if you are interested in taking a look at it. I can also email this to you all as well. But something like this is very, very easy to implement. But lastly, even federal officials, including FDA leadership, have publicly stated that their concerns are on concentrated 7-OH products and not plain leaf kratom itself. So I would just encourage Sandpoint to approach this issue carefully, thoughtfully, and scientifically. And if action is taken, it should target the dangerous adulterated products specifically and not lump natural plain leaf kratom into the same category. Thank you so much for the time to speak today.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you.
And that concludes public comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thanks, public. As mentioned, that will conclude the general public comment period. We'll move now on to the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills for approval is $870,310.41. Council, do you have any questions or is there anything you wish to remove from the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Paquette?
I have a question about number 9.
Okay.
And I'm not against approving that. Once again, my issue would be events with recycling. And I don't know how I can get a heads up when these are coming, these amendments or contracts, so that we can talk about including that in their trash pickup. And then the map of that area was a little confusing to me. And is the alcohol going to be in the building? I guess that person isn't here. But maybe Cheryl, is it going to be in the building? And then they showed outside seating, and I'm just concerned where the alcohol is.
So per city, hello, counselors. I'm Cheryl Hughes, Central Services Director. So the city code for alcohol use included inside the facility at that location for Lions Club.
Okay. Because they showed some outdoor seating, and I didn't know if that was
no,
gonna be part of it.
the alcohol sale consumption is all within the building.
Okay.
They are aware that if they want to hold anything outside of that facility, they would have to do that through a special event permit, and then it could be reviewed at that time.
Okay, thanks. So,
and I will keep in mind when doing lease agreements or event agreements about recycling.
I would like to have a chance to see if everybody agreed to do that on contracts. It's a simple thing, I think.
I think that there's nothing wrong with putting in there that recycling is highly encouraged by the city. Some kind of wording that encourages recycling bins, containers at the location.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council or any removals from the consent calendar? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as provided.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Duquette, second by Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Rule?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on to our public hearings. At this time, we'll move on to the hearing portion of the meeting. We have 4 public hearings this evening. City policy provides that the presiding officer may allow gifted time during a public hearing, where you may give 3 minutes to someone else. I will allow for gifted time at these hearings. Please note that the person giving time may only do so once. And the person receiving time may only receive 1 gift for a total of up to 6 minutes for the person receiving gifted time to speak. If you are given time, please state as much when you begin speaking and state the name of the person who donated their time. Both parties must be present here in chambers. Otherwise, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. The rules of civility and decorum, as cited earlier, are in effect for all public hearings. First public hearing tonight is regarding amendment to Title 3, Chapter 12, Business License Regulation, Short-Term Rental of Dwelling Units. I'll yield the floor to Deputy Community Planning and Development Director, Bill Dean. There you are, Bill. Take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. For the record, Bill Dean, Assistant Director of Planning and Community Development. Jason Welker is out this evening. I'm here in his stead. He's the one that's been doing the heavy lifting on this STR, short-term rental work over the last number of months. You acted on the short-term rental ordinance earlier this year in February to align it with some of the recent court cases that were coming out of this related to short-term rentals. Since that time, and as Jason mentioned back then, House Bill 583 was signed by the governor on March 16th and becomes effective on July 1st of this year, effectively eliminating the city's ability to regulate short-term rentals the way we were. Cities and municipalities across Idaho are no longer able to regulate short-term rentals any more rigorously than you would a single-family home. So your packet is complete. It contains all the information. This ordinance simply aligns city short-term rental policy with this House Bill 583. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. We're basically going to be out of the business of being able to regulate these beyond basic life safety considerations regarding carbon monoxide monitors and things like that. So with that, I'll just leave it to questions if you have them. Thank you.
Bill, I have one question before we go to council. We currently maintain a specialized software. Is that right? That allows us to basically scrub these.
That's right.
Just as a request, can we continue just to keep our eye on, just to, the best as possible, understand what the effect of this in the terms of overall number of units that are popping up in a community?
We can use that information however you see fit.
I mean, maybe once a month or something. That'd be great. Council, any questions for Deputy Director Dean on this matter?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Follow-up question to yours. What's the cost of that software?
It's expensive. I want to say it's like 7,000. Sheriff Sarah might know. It's a lot. I mean, I don't think we'll be renewing it, but I think it was an annual deal, unless you want to keep tracking to have some data.
No, but I do have, the next question I was going to ask is, what are the ramifications for our lodging tax?
Well, we won't know. We presume, this is, from what I understand, it's all going to be running through the big machine, Airbnb or others like VBRO. They make their submissions to the state, and then those are distributed to the cities. We assume that if there's an increase, we'll see that captured, but I'm not sure if there's what other checks and balances there are in the state for like one-off individual operators.
That's exactly what my next question was going to be. If somebody doesn't go through those large databases, does the state have any apparatus set up to enforce lodging taxes?
Yeah, it's a good question. My understanding is it would take an individual notification to the state tax commission that there's a property owner who is renting their property for income not disclosed on their state income taxes or other income taxes, and it would be the state tax commission's responsibility to enforce and audit that person.
Great.
Not really. Bad legislation, in my opinion, from the state, but.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Council President.
I just wanted to make a public statement that I'm very much opposed to the passing of HB 583 for many, many reasons that have already been stated here.
Thank you, Council President. Any other council questions for staff at this time? If not, we're prepared to proceed with the public hearing. For the record, any written comments received were included in the meeting packets or otherwise provided to council if received in time to do so. If you wish to testify this evening, please complete a sign-up form, hand it to staff at the back table. Public hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, is anyone signed up to testify?
No, I do not have to be signed up.
Are there any members of the public who haven't testified who wish to do so? This will be the last opportunity before the hearing is closed. Public hearing is now closed. We'll now move on to the action item on the agenda for deliberation and discussion on the proposed ordinance. Council, please deliberate.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilor Schreiber.
I would just echo the council president's sentiment that I'm 100% against this legislation, and I think it's very short-sighted and is going to cause all sorts of problems for our community. But we don't have many options, unfortunately, and I don't want to open the city up to undue risk by not keeping our ordinance in line with state regulations.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Torres.
I too am against this 100% as well.
Mr. Mayor, I
Councilwoman
have
Duquette?
voted against this. Every time we've talked about it, I still agree that it is not in the best interest of our city and its taxpayers.
And I know it's not always in accordance, but I just would like to say a couple things as well. I agree with you all on this item. The state of Idaho has invested tens of millions of dollars to diversify the economy of this community over the past 2-3 decades. We've succeeded. We represent one of the most diverse mountain town economies in the country today, with aerospace, biomedical, food production, computer analytics, and many other industries. Over the past 5 years, with our challenges of affordable housing and capacity, those employers are struggling to find full-time year-round housing for our citizens, allowing unfettered short-term rental speculators and investors to come in and buy our housing stock, displace the opportunity for a local resident or employee to live there year-round for the proposed benefit of the individual for a short-term profit on a short-term rental, in my mind, is not the direction we need to be going as a community. And although I realize that we have to comply with state law, I think this House Bill 583 was some of the worst legislation I've ever seen. With that, council members, I will now ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, Idaho, repealing and replacing Title III, Chapter 12, Sandpoint City Code pertaining to short-term rentals, providing findings, providing for a new Chapter 12, consistent with Idaho Code Section 67-6539, as amended, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
I would entertain a motion that the ordinance pass its first reading by title only and the summary is approved.
So moved.
You may have to hold your nose.
Second.
That was a move by Council President Rule, second by Councilman Torres. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilor Duquette?
As an elected official, I believe it is in my rights to continue to oppose repealing the original Title III, Chapter 12, as it is not in the best interest of the city and its taxpayers. So no.
Councilor Schreiber?
That was very well said. No.
Councilor Rule?
In the best interest of the city and not wanting to litigate with a company as large as VRBO and Airbnb, I would like to vote with these two, but I do have a fiduciary responsibility to all the taxpayers of this city. So I will very disgustingly and apprehensively vote yes.
And Councilor Torres?
Yes, I'm voting, but I am 100% still against this. But I just want to make sure that our city does not go through more pain because of not supporting it.
That's a yes vote, I believe. So by my count, that is a tie, which gives the mayor the privilege of breaking the tie. I agree with all of you, but when we think about the taxpayers' standpoint, our limited resources, and the machine that is the swamp of lobbyists that put self-interest, corporate interest, and profit over the health and benefit of communities, and the fact that we can't fight that from Sandpoint City Hall effectively, I vote yes. With that, I believe the ordinance has passed its first reading by title only and the summary is approved. I would entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings, once in the ordinance entirety, be suspended. The ordinance pass its second and third reading under suspension of the rules. This will be a roll call vote. Oh, I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion to suspend rules by Council President Rule, second by Councilman Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Rule,
No.
Counselor Duquette,
No.
Counselor Torres,
No.
Counselor Schreiber.
No.
I'd just like to follow that up with a statement. I'd like this to be read that many more times so we can express our disgust publicly.
Thank you, Council President. The motion fails, so we will bring this back for a second reading at our next meeting. Moving on to item 16. The second public hearing this evening is an amendment to Title V, Chapter 2, prohibiting, oh, no, that one's gone, sorry. Item 16 was removed by council, as well as item 17. Thank you. Following along here, that moves us right down to item 18. The second public hearing we have tonight is an amendment to City Code 4-3 Fire Prevention Protection. Chief Gilchrist is here, and I'll yield the floor to him for an explanation.
Mayor, Council, what we got before you tonight is a proposed ordinance change to City Code.
Chief, can you just make sure your microphone's on so you're getting picked up?
Is that it? Oh, I'm sorry. There
You're
we go. Before you tonight is a proposed ordinance for the amendment to City Code 4-3A, and it has to do with the fire department itself. The majority of what we're doing, Article B has one clarification that we decided to put in because the clerk basically doesn't set the fee. The fee for permits goes in front of the council to set. So we made that correction. And the gist of this is we basically added Article C, which addresses open burning and the regulations inside of city limits, whereas we really didn't have anything prior to this other than, pardon me, other than in our permit application for the burn permit. This just gives it more clarification and is able to help us with our enforcement efforts if we have to go down that direction. So.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
Yeah, could you give us a little bit more information about that process for, community members who like to have like a backyard fire pit or something like that?
So backyard fire pits, we don't permit those. That's warming fires if they're using like a burn ring or a little burn barrel or something like that. Cooking fires, things of that nature. The chimeneas, some folks, the solo stoves, things like that. We don't do permits for those. This is for people that are burning like yard debris. They're doing a cleanup. It's usually bigger in the spring and in the fall. They want to burn the branches and things like that. That's what we permit. The one thing that it does address though is it prohibits the burning of machine slash piles in the city limits. We've had several incidents, probably over the last couple of years, where people have kind of circumnavigated the process and just kind of, burn their slash piles. It's a safety factor. They're not really looking at DEQ for air quality or anything like that when they do it. And they'll come in and they'll light them and they just leave. So nobody's tending them, and that's worrisome to say the least to me. So I hope that answers your question.
It did. That's perfect. Thank you.
Just one more question on that. So if an individual has like branches that they've cut down, can they use that in their personal fire?
If it fits.
If it fits, okay.
If it fits, like
Okay.
can't have the ring.
They break it down and put it in? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Good question.
Any other questions from council? All right, we'll proceed with the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to testify?
No, there's nobody signed up.
Will be the last opportunity before the hearing is closed. Any public wish to testify who haven't? Public hearing is now closed. Now move on to the action item on the agenda for deliberation and discussion on the proposed ordinance. Council, please deliberate.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I appreciate, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Trevor.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate staff taking this up. I think it's possible we're in for a bad fire season. And so I appreciate you getting ahead of it and tackling this ahead of time.
Yes.
All right. I'll now ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending Sandpoint City Code Title 4, Chapter 3, Fire Prevention and Protection, providing for severability and providing for publication and effective date.
I'd entertain a motion that the ordinance pass its first reading by title only and the summary is approved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Duquette, second by Council President Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Rule.
Yes.
The ordinance is passed its first reading by title only and the summary is approved. I'd entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings once in the ordinance entirety be suspended, that the ordinance pass its second and third reading under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schreiber, second by Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette.
Yes.
Motion passes by my count and the ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under suspension of the rules. Moving on to,
Council.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
oh, thanks, Chief.
Looking sharp tonight.
Moving on to item number 20, which is the public hearing proposed for new city fees and fees proposed to increase more than 5%. 5%. Do councilors have any questions for staff at this time?
Questions? Okay.
About the, about the fees.
I'm not sure if this is a question.
Well, try it. Councilwoman Duquette, you are recognized.
Thank you. I still see the need to separate the city beach from the parking pass requirement for city taxpayers. I believe we have a right to the beach for free if we do not drive into town, if we do not want a parking pass, that we can still access the beach and park for free. Not everybody drives to town. Some people only drive to go to the beach if they have a lot of things. So is that a question?
Yes, the question, are there any questions for staff at the time?
Can we still separate that? Nobody
Um,
agreed with me at the meeting, which was fine, but we just kind of moved on and
Councilwoman Duquette, just to reframe where we're at. So this is
Yeah.
questions for staff about the fees. Then we'll go into the public hearing. The public will speak. Then you will deliberate. At your deliberation, you could throw out why you're in
Okay.
favor or not, or concerns you have. And then when you vote, you can state your vote and why you're voting the way you're voting.
Okay.
So just for process wise, that's how we like
thank
to
you. That's why
organize
I
things.
asked if this was the time for question.
Right. Any other,
Mayor?
Councilman Schreiber?
Yeah, thanks. At the last meeting, I recall there being discussion about resident permits being handled slightly differently with a window sticker, sort of like the county dump permits. Has there been any development on that?
Staff has continued to meet with the provider and I have not attended all those meetings. Maybe Cheryl or please.
Mr. Mayor, I'm actually here if you'd like to have me address that. This is Jason Welker, Planning and Community Development Director.
Man.
Thanks, Jason. It was like God speaking.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Council. I'm in Fayetteville, Arkansas for the Strong Towns National Gathering right now, but I've been following the meeting and I can answer any questions you have about the fees related to parking. So I think Councilman Schreiber, you were asking whether any progress had been made. The discussion at the meeting 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, perhaps, when we first introduced the fees, the takeaway I got from that meeting was that council's decision was not to go down the path of setting up a separate administration for a permit that would be issued outside of the IPS portal. IPS does offer the permit portal, which we will be using for our city and county resident permits, our marina occupant permits, boat launch permits. I believe those are the, and then the downtown street parking permits, which include 24-hour street parking and overnight parking at our city lots. Those are the 4 permit types that we've set up with IPS. The city resident permits, or the county resident permits, and the marina permits all are valid at City Beach. So in response to Councilwoman Duquette's question, that is the permit type, that $20 and $35 annual permit that would provide unlimited, or should say, single day parking at City Beach. The $100 marina occupant permit per year provides multi-day parking for marina slip occupants. We did establish the $3 hourly rate for non-permit holders at City Beach in this fee schedule. And I've been working on signage with the team, with the deployment team. That $3 understood as a maximum hourly rate for parking. We are setting up a separate kiosk. And this is just as a matter of update. We are setting up a separate kiosk at each of our city boat launches that allows those launching boats to pay for multiple days of parking as well. But the rate that they'll be paying is underneath the $3 hourly rate. So we're actually offering multi-day parking options for boat launches as well. This is just as a matter of update to remind you that the $3 was the maximum rate that you set. Well, that will be our base rate for the off-street parking lots for non-permit holders. We did base the fees that we're charging boat people who wish to park boat trailers for multiple days, a kind of a tiered daily rate that falls below $3 per hour. You can imagine $3 per hour over several days would add up very quickly if it was being charged for both a vehicle and a trailer. So that's just a matter of update. But in response to Councilman Schreiber's question, no, the direction I got from our last meeting was that council did not prefer that we set up a fully separate permit category that would require the city to administer with staff and take care of things like address verification and all the other responsibilities that would come with us having our own city issued permit. And in Councilwoman Duquette's case, there is not a there has not been discussed an option for permit-less parking for city residents at City Beach. A permit will be required, and of course, that's to allow for enforcement. If there's no permit, there's no way for an enforcement officer to know who is a city resident and who's not, because address verification occurs through the permit application process. We can't confirm residency unless a permit has been procured by a resident, because it places that burden of residency verification on the permit purchaser. If there's any follow-up questions, let me know.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
Yeah, thanks, Jason, for that clarification. Now that you mentioned it, that's how I remember it as well. I also recall that the majority of the $20 permit was going to go just simply for the verification of the residency. And so now that I've had a minute to reflect on that, as we started down this paid parking path, one of my biggest fears was that most of the money that was collected would just go to an outside agency and we'd be paying for the use of our own resources to somebody just to gatekeep it for us. And so I would still be interested in comparing the price of the in-house system just for residents, city residents, to the cost of having ICS administer that for us. But my understanding is that if it's found to be less expensive and we did decide at a future date to go with that route, we could simply lower the price of the city permit because this is a maximum price. Is that accurate?
Possibly in a future year. I will say that we're planning to launch the permit portal probably before your next council meeting. We are well down the path of, in fact, at tomorrow's deployment team meeting, we expect to see the permit portal having been actually created by IPS. So I would venture to say it's a little too late at this point to backpedal. We've already begun. I mean, we're halfway through the process of implementing permits and we're configuring our kiosks right now. So we are weeks away from launching the permit portal so that residents and others can begin purchasing the permits. But I think continual assessment of the program over the next year is essential. And if we determine that it's not working for the city, we can, pull certain types of permits out of the program next year. If we determine that we can administer this program much more cheaply than perhaps the 19 or so dollars that it's going to cost for each permit issued by IPS. Just to clarify, the bulk of that $19, and I don't have the contract right in front of me right now, but it's around $6 for the manual verification, and that's where an IPS employee will actually review every uploaded document and confirm that it's an authentic document that does in fact verify that the applicant for that permit is a resident of the city or the county. The other largest component of that $19 is the physical permit. So you'll recall that you might recall that there was about another $6 associated with the actual printing of physical window sticker permits, placing them in envelopes, addressing the envelope, stamping the envelope, and handling the shipping and handling basically for each permit sold added another $6. So around 12 out of the $19 is just literally like the labor and materials that IPS will be handling on behalf of the city. So those are costs that we as a city would have to bear if we took over the permit program. IPS's actual, well, I guess you could call it their profit from the permit program is a relatively small part of that $19. I think around $3 or $3.50. So it's not that we're, transferring a lot of wealth from city permit purchasers to IPS. It's that we're asking IPS to administer a program that otherwise city resources would be needed to administer, if that makes sense. And if you're asking for, a cost analysis of what would the city resources that would be needed to administer a permit program cost on a per permit basis, that's something we could maybe look into. But I think at this point, since we're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from launching our permit portal, it's a little late in the game for us to ask and to try to pause that deployment effort. That the goal of the deployment effort is to have permits for sale by mid-June, at least 2 weeks before we even install kiosks, so that city and county residents have plenty of time to get a permit associated with their license plate before we start charging tourists to the city beach. Because of course, if we launched it all at the same time, you'd have every city resident would show up at City Beach and not have a permit because they haven't had time to purchase one and be expected to pay that $3 per hour. Our goal is to not have any city resident have to pay that $3 per hour by the time we start charging it to the non-permit holders.
Councilman Schreider, I was thinking about this maybe in the second year, it's going to be a lot of renewals. So the renewal, we can maybe approach that as we get to our next year in the program. That first year is going to be a slug of validating, but if somebody's purchased one this year, the renewal should be pretty simple. So we might be able to do that in-house and implement what you're talking about, which is either reducing the permit fee or some other way addressing that.
Perfect. Thanks for that extra information. And I did have one more question that was a holdover from the last meeting, which was a question of data privacy for the people signing up for the system. Did you have a chance to talk to ICS about that?
For the record, it's IPS, not ICS, but I have to admit I did not do a follow-up with them on that, but I will email them right now and get back to you as soon as I hear a reply. But I do recall from the procurement process, the solicitation that data privacy was discussed extensively in both of our interviews with the two firms that we interviewed, and that was one of the factors that went into choosing IPS. But I will get the details for you for our next meeting.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
Council questions? Councilman Torres.
Hi, Jason. Councilman Torres. Quick question about, so understanding the cost is right around $12. Is there an option for us to add in low-income housing residents at a lower rate? It doesn't look like it can be for free.
Actually, I did look into that, Councilman Torres. And just to be clear, the cost is not $12. That's just the cost for those two components, for the physical permit plus the verification. The total cost is around $19.50, which is how we came to $20 for the permit. The city is, again, just as a reminder, not looking to profit off of city resident permits really at all. We're just covering the cost of the permit, which includes, everything down to credit card processing and the gateway fee that IPS charges, which is their share of profit from that. A very small amount relative to that $20. As far as low income permits, they do offer a discounted I believe it was something like an $8 option for if that's something that we wanted to offer, they do have kind of a program that they can offer that allows for um, a reduced fee for certain groups if the council should choose to offer that. One thing to consider, and I will say, I've been in some interesting workshops here in Arkansas around parking actually, and the very question of free or subsidized permits for low-income households came up, and one just something for council to consider is that discounting or offering free permits to vehicle owners in general is could be viewed as perhaps a subsidy for a citizen based on their ownership of a vehicle, whereas those who choose not to buy a permit and ride their bikes or walk to City Beach or perhaps not park directly in front of where they live in town aren't receiving any sort of subsidy. So that's just something to consider. If the council's goal is to subsidize vehicle travel and the dependence on vehicles in the city, then offsetting the cost of these permits might be a good idea. But generally speaking, when we talk about our overall objectives as a community around health and pedestrian bicycle use and things like that, subsidizing vehicle use through offsetting permit costs for certain vehicle owners might not be the best policy decision. Just something to consider there.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Council, let me just make sure, Council, before we go to seconds, any other questions,
I don't-
Council President?
Yes, I did.
It's okay.
Mr. Welker, this is Deb Rule. I had one question about the volleyball courts, and that was a $10 per hourly fee. I'm just wondering if there are some guardrails around that as far as consecutive hours that you could rent the courts for, or consecutive days, and if you could monopolize that, like on a holiday weekend or something along those lines.
Great question. The volleyball court $10 hourly fee was really just to bring those courts into the fee schedule because we already had all of our other outdoor courts in the fee schedule. So groups can rent an outdoor tennis court for $10 an hour. We have the Sandpoint tennis. There's private tennis camps that go on during the summer that rents those courts. So that's a fee that's already taken advantage of. The outdoor basketball courts could already be, I don't know if we've ever had anybody rent an outdoor basketball court, but they're already in the fee schedule. The volleyball courts have been getting rented. I think Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they might have been in the fee schedule of $7 an hour. So we're just increasing that to 10 to bring it into line with the hourly rate that we charge for all the other
Correct,
courts.
yeah.
Or is this a new fee, Sarah? Is this an increase or a new fee?
They're at $7 right now and they're going up to 10.
Yeah, so Councilwoman Rule, we're just adjusting this to bring it into line with what we charge for all the other outdoor courts. And again, this is a maximum. So one thing, uh, uh, of course, we're talking about volleyball courts, and Councilman Ospiro's not there tonight, but um, one thing we're exploring right now is the possibility of putting volleyball courts onto our court reserve platform, which we use for the James E. Russell Sports Center. We've been getting, I'd say, some complaints lately about the lack of court availability. So I've actually had Ryan Wells, our recreation facility supervisor. We haven't launched it yet, but he's added 2 of the 4 volleyball courts to court reserve, so that users can reserve them for $10 for a 2-hour session right now. So that's just something I wanted to give you an update on. We haven't launched it yet. We haven't pushed it out to the community. We're kind of testing it in-house right now because it's separate from obviously tennis and pickleball court reservations. So we want to make sure it's not something that confuses the public if we do decide to launch this. But given the demand for volleyball courts and the frustration that some of our kind of longtime volleyball community have expressed to the Parks Department in recent weeks over, Kootenai County played. So a whole group of Kootenai County people are showing up and taking up 2 courts for an entire evening when locals are finding it hard to get on those courts. We are possibly launching court reserve, and we'll put signage up and allow people to scan a QR code and reserve a court. And of course, having that privilege to reserve a court comes with a fee. That's what this fee is in the fee schedule, is to establish that $10 reservation fee for a volleyball court. But right now, we're not planning to launch court reservations for more than 2 of the 4 courts. So 2 courts will remain for first come, first serve. two courts should be available for reservations. And we'll have to have some policy language on signage around if you don't show up within 10 minutes of your reservation is forfeited or something like that, so that people don't just reserve them every night of the week and then only use them the nights that they care to show up.
Yep, that kind of answered what I knew was sort of brewing out there in the public, that they're highly sought after. So I'm glad that you're
Yeah.
looking at trying to make that a better system so our residents can enjoy them. Thank you.
And I would just point out, sort of like parking. I mean, in the case of, I think wisely council listened to downtown business owners, decided not to charge for street parking right away. We're using technology to enforce turnover in our street parking downtown. Similarly, we're not looking to make a profit off of volleyball courts. We're just looking to provide better access to volleyball courts using the technology that we have. We're going to use kiosks and mobile pay for parking. We're going to use the Court Reserve app that we already have that works exceedingly well at the sports center to better provide access to those who truly value and expect to, come enjoy their beach volleyball courts. And we are still planning to put 2 new beach volleyball courts at City Beach this summer as well. That's a project that Colton is actively working on.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilwoman Duquette, my apologies. I thought you had already
Okay.
asked the questions. Your questions.
Not really questions. Jason, I know you worked really hard on this. I've been anti this the whole time. I'm not backpedaling because I have never agreed on city taxpayers paying to park at the city beach. With that last meeting, what I remember when we were discussing it, yeah, nobody agreed with me, which was fine, but we didn't vote or anything. We just kind of pushed on and somebody said, let's just run it for a year and see how it goes. And so I don't feel like I ever really got to say I didn't agree. I didn't want it. I don't want it. I don't know why I can't go pay my property taxes, see I'm a resident, give me a sticker, put it in my window. I can only park at the city beach. If somebody's going through there and sees somebody parked without a permit or my little city beach taxpayer sticker, I don't see that that's a big deal. But I know I'm in the minority on this one. And it's just,
Councilwoman Duquette,
Yes, I'm finished, I
no. I just want to, I think you have some sparks of some interesting ways we could approach this. This is the first year of the program. We've committed to buying this equipment. We do need to implement it in a way that we can recover those costs. So I think, as I think Council President Rule said, you all always have the ability as a council body to adjust and amend the rules and the laws. So I think it's something we'll just see how it works and what we hear back and what barriers there are and what opportunities there are to improve it. But I think it did come across that you're against it. If you were fearful in any way that you were not supported.
Since the beginning.
It did come across. Any other council questions? All right. We will now proceed with the public hearing on the fees. If you're on Zoom and wish to testify, you may raise your hand at this time. The rules previously stated for public testimony are still in effect. The public hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, please call our first speaker if there are any.
I do not have any.
This will be the last opportunity before the hearing is closed. If you haven't testified and wish to do so, please state so now. Public hearing is now closed. Wow. Moving on. We will now move to the action item on the agenda for deliberate. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. We will now move on to the action item on the agenda for deliberation discussion regarding the changes to city fees. Council, please deliberate.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah. I just wanted to express agreement with Councilor Duquette, and I think that in the long run, minimizing that cost to the city would allow us to provide free or very cheap permits. And I think that asking city residents to come and pick up a sticker is probably less expensive than mailing out placards or whatever we're going to get this year. But for the purposes of this fee schedule, I think knowing that we can always reduce the fee, I'm okay with moving forward at this point.
Mr. Mayor?
Council President Rule?
I guess my only comment is something that Mr. Welker said relative to encouraging or discouraging use of cars at City Beach when we're local city residents. And so looking at the bigger picture of the world and everybody driving and how crowded it gets down there, I think we have an opportunity to kind of balance that piece of it and encourage everyone to walk and ride their bikes more to City Beach. And again, I concur with Councilman Schreiber in that this is the maximum fee. So if we want to change it or a better avenue opens up, or maybe it's after we do this initial year, we need to take a long look and change some things, then I'm very open and willing to do all that.
Mr. Mayor? Torres. I'm just, with regards to technology and where we are in today, I'm really hopeful that this is going to make everything more efficient for us. And understanding that we can change this fee, I support it as well.
All right. Councilwoman Boudet, any
I
deliberation?
don't want to be contrary necessarily. I just can't help it. In my nature.
Don't feel bad about that. That's your role.
It's in my nature. What can I say? I've been this way for a while, sticking to my guns, I guess. And as far as discouraging driving, I am 100% behind that. But it's hard to get I understand families can't get all their stuff on their backs, in wagons, and hoist them all down to the city beach if they don't want to drive. And I don't want to carry my boat on my back, even though I have taken it to Memorial Field on my wagon. I guess I sticking to my original. Didn't want taxpayers to pay to go to park at City Beach.
All right. Well, we did not hear any public testimony on the fee schedule, and that's what this is about and collective. I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution adopting the new city fees and approving changes to the existing fees in the fee schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Roll, second by Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette?
No, fine.
Yes.
I have to be first, right? Okay, in the spirit of cooperating, collaborating, to set an example for the community to come together. Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Rule?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any council members need a break or shall we keep going?
Break, please.
Wait.
Let's take a 5-minute break at 6:53.
I had to write it down, of course, because otherwise I would talk like I usually do.
Meeting is
Thank you for-
reconvened at 6:59. Thank you, council members, public. Moving on to old business. Item number 23. Number 22 is removed by the applicant. We'll be providing an update on the proposed city code amendments to the arboricultural manual. Did I say that right, Kyle? Arboricultural?
Close enough, yeah.
All right. I will now yield the floor to Public Works Director Holly Ellis, or Eric Bush, Project Manager.
Good evening, councilors.
City Forester.
Eric Bush, Project Manager, City Forester, as Mayor Grimm said. I don't have a presentation tonight. I think the agenda report and the updates are pretty robust. But I did want to kind of go through them briefly and then answer any questions, take any, requests for change or anything like that before this comes before you formally. So previously, council requested the heritage tree definition be added into city code. The city code update, draft code update, that's in your packet, accomplishes that. as well as creating an appendix, Appendix A, to our arboriculture manual. I still have a hard time with that one too. That starts a voluntary heritage tree program. And the details of that program, I think, are within the appendix, but in addition to the definitions, there are kind of defining metrics under each definition. And the intent with those metrics is to, if and when this program's kind of adopted or comes to fruition, is to have those trees that are being considered for heritage tree status be considered objectively and consistently. So we want to make sure that process is there, that a process is defined and that a process is being followed consistently, so we don't have various trees that don't necessarily fit one of those categories or are looked at differently, either now by this Urban Forestry Commission, this City Council, or in the future. So that's kind of the intent of the appendix edition in the manual. There's some additional details in the actual process, and I'd be happy to answer any questions there. But the main intent of creating this program is to promote more knowledge awareness of trees in Sandpoint. We obviously have quite a robust tree canopy and want to make folks aware of it. Some folks are very aware, other folks aren't. And one key thing I want to highlight as it relates to the voluntary program is I think there's an important consideration between trees that are publicly owned, either in the right of way or city parks or public property generally, and trees on private property. I don't think we want to force homeowners to be a part or have a tree on their property designated as a heritage tree. As is outlined in the program itself, that would require property owner acknowledgement and kind of sign off on that. So we could simply develop a form that would have the property owner, give their take on whether or not they would like a tree on their property if one is recommended to be to have that status. I think thinking about it a little further is also important. And let's say that property changes hands. I think a new property owner should have the ability to say whether or not they want that tree on recognized as a heritage tree. So with that said, happy to answer any questions, take any notes you have on the code updates or the appendix.
Council, any questions for staff?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to speak to Eric. On page 236, page 8 of 8 on your manual,
Yes.
the last lines that are crossed off.
That is our current code language.
Right. And so why would it be crossed off? That a tree may be retained beyond its useful life because of its contribution to the environment and city character. Perhaps like a, what do you call it? An animal tree, a wildlife tree could be dead.
Ecological.
Right. Well, so we had ecological trees in those cottonwoods and they were removed. I'm just wondering why it says that you took off that it could be retained beyond its useful life because of its contribution, a heritage or historical tree may be designated. So to me, it sounds like you're not saying that any longer, that we aren't going to retain any beyond its useful life. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
I mean, if it's a wildlife tree.
Sure. I think that interpretation is all contextual, meaning it doesn't necessarily mean that a tree wouldn't be retained beyond its useful life because that language isn't in there. But I'll defer to the council on the exact language that you all would like in this code update.
Mr. Mayor?
Council President Rule?
wasn't quite finished, but
I
go
know,
ahead.
but this is kind of an ask that when we're speaking to staff, we don't ask them why you did it this way,
Okay.
because this comes in front of us and it's about the decisions we make. They write some of the policy, but it's not them, it's us asking for it, and then we make corrections, so.
And I don't mean to mean anything.
I know you don't mean to.
Did we vote to take that off?
We haven't voted on it yet, so we're discussing it, so it's
Okay.
what's in front of us.
Thank you, Council President.
Okay, yes, thank you. I apologize.
I just understand you're passionate, and I appreciate it.
Trying to tone it down.
Any other questions or discussions,
still
staff? On this?
wasn't
Oh,
finished.
go ahead, continue on. Council.
Sorry.
Do that.
And not to put you on any staff on the spot. Now I can't even remember what I was gonna ask. Oh, you said that we should not force, and nobody's forcing somebody who has a piece of property that has a heritage tree on it. But a heritage tree is a heritage tree. Whether I bought that property and it's on there, to me, I'm just a little worried about. And my next item is trying to talk about a private property tree program with some incentives and some, applause for people that do take care of trees or do maintain trees that are heritage. You can't remove it as a heritage tree because it's on private property, really. If it fits one of these, and this is, I'm saying this, and this was going to be in my next thing, because we've lost 3 really big, beautiful trees in the past month. And that's just trees I know of. And I know there are probably more that people don't tell me about.
Hundreds.
Thanks for depressing me even more. So if we say it's only a heritage tree if I want it to be one because it's on my property, I think that takes away from a definition of a heritage tree, because an urban forest is actually for everybody's good. I mean, I know we're going to get into the sticky private property things, which is what I'm trying to help avoid, but I don't know. That kind of bothers me, I guess.
Counselor Duquette, if I may, Holly Ellis, Public Works Director. The intent with this code update was to clarify the definition for a heritage
Right.
tree and tee up a educational heritage tree program to encourage recognition and education, and hopefully inform the community on the value of heritage tree, to encourage folks to value their trees on their property, and just shine a light on the importance, the value of trees, and get a volunteer program for folks to choose to maintain their trees on their private property and conserve them during construction, for example. If you scroll up, if you don't mind scrolling up a little bit, one of the updates we were trying to do is to clean it up a little bit in this whole draft of code. So further up so we actually moved that portion of code about retaining those trees to an earlier section within the public right of way.
Right.
Where we do have the authority.
Right.
And it's this here. So thank you, Haley.
Number 6.
Item 6, that the city may consider a heritage tree or significant tree in the planning and design of public improvements, and in that consideration, take actions to preserve the tree or save the tree.
Okay.
Within our right of way. So that's the intent, was to clean up the code, keep the preservation items within the public right of way where we can, and then have this portion of code dedicated to the voluntary non-regulatory heritage tree program that our commission would largely operate and run the program and manage.
Right. No, I appreciate all that. And I'll let them tell my item, my guess.
Mr. Mayor?
Council President?
Holly or Eric, probably either one of you could. I haven't gotten into the deepest details as Pam has on this. So my question might be very simple in that where do we draw the line as a city in designating trees, whether they're on our right of way or on private property, if there is only an educational component to that heritage tree and no other private property infringement other than naming it as what we see as a heritage tree, like I said, more as an educational awareness piece. Fond is not stalling, neither is Zach, so.
Well, I think you're tiptoeing around the underlying issue, which is how much authority does a governmental entity have in forcing a private property owner to retain any tree?
Well, I'm not talking about retention or restriction. I'm simply talking about acknowledging a tree, no matter where it is within the city limits, not putting any restriction on a private property heritage tree, other than the fact that we as a city recognize it to be a great tree, which might then have an impact on the landowner to rethink something on their own behalf without any ordinance, restriction, legal pressure at all related to that.
What's the question?
So I'm asking if it's a problem just to name it as a heritage tree if it's on private property.
Well, that's the whole point of this particular proposed code, is to allow private property owners, well, give them some structure to voluntarily participate in having the trees on their private property identified as heritage trees, and then decide what to do with them based on that definition.
So they would still have to volunteer. We couldn't just name them if we walked the blocks of the city.
I think
There still needs to be a permission from the resident.
if I could jump in, I think one of the concerns would be just confusion of what it then means to be a heritage tree, because then there would be a difference between a heritage tree on private property and a heritage tree in the public right of way. And so I think one of the reasons we're shying away from that is to alleviate and avoid that confusion.
And
Okay, I'll accept that as an answer. I don't know if that's well, I'll hold that comment.
Counselor, something I've been thinking about as it relates to the potential designation of a heritage tree on private property, and part of why I think it's important that property owners have an option of that is presumably there will be a list of these heritage trees that's public in some context. And I'll defer to legal on this, but I am guessing that there could be, if that list is public, there could be potential trespassing issues, for example, if folks are using that to go around and look, and we of course don't want to promote that. So I think that's it from my perspective anyway. I think that's at least part of the reason why having it as a voluntary type program in the private realm would be appropriate.
Understood. Makes sense. Thank you.
And Chief Kuhn just reminded us of the new heavy legislation that is coming forward regarding lack of access to private property and the trespassing rules that are associated with that. And so again, back to what Eric just indicated, we have to be very mindful of our ability to both be on private property, but even make declarations on private property.
Okay, I just wanted it in a more clear legal way for me to understand those pieces.
You have every right as a city to define your heritage trees and identify what you intend to do with them in your public right of way. It is much less clear, and you have less rights as a government to impose regulation on those trees on private property.
Even just naming them, which could infringe upon trespassing because it could attract, like Eric said, trespassing from outsiders or infringe upon privacy of people not wanting people to know they have a heritage tree.
Which is why it's so important to educate and offer a robust voluntary program with possibly incentives should you choose.
Okay, thank you for letting me process out loud on the dais.
Thank you for processing out loud so I could hear.
Any other council discussion on this item? Go ahead, Commissioner Schreiber.
Yeah, so for a very long time, we've had Outstanding Trees of Sandpoint pamphlet. And I think it's a great educational piece. In fact, when some trees died on my property and I was trying to choose a species as to what to replace them, it was a great that because you look at pictures online, but it never does it justice. So it was great that I could drive around town, get an idea of how big this tree is going to be. A lot of those trees might not actually fit the description of as the urban forestry recommended these descriptions of a heritage tree. They were just healthy specimens of these trees, maybe pretty average specimens of these trees. But it didn't create any sort of need for the city or the property owner to preserve those trees. And I'm pretty sure all of them were in front yards. So I didn't have to do any trespassing or peeking over fences to see these trees. But I know the one that led me to the species that I eventually ended up planting has been cut down by the property owner. It's gone, which is unfortunate because it was a very beautiful tree. But I recognize that that was the property owner's prerogative to do so because this outstanding trees of Sandpoint pamphlet really had no legal basis to it whatsoever. And in this program that staff is recommending, I think is very close to that. That's what it seems like. It's like, we're going to put a gold star on these trees because they're great trees, but really it doesn't do anything. They could still get cut down at any point. The issue that I have with that is that throughout the most recent comprehensive plan update, we got a lot of public input surrounding heritage trees and urban forestry and preservation of trees. And it was almost entirely on the subject of trees on private property. And much of that discussion revolved around relaxing some sort of building code or zoning code in exchange for saving a tree. Now, if we're going to go down that route, I think it's very important that the city does get some legally enforceable protection for those trees. Otherwise, a developer could just say, well, that's a heritage tree, so I don't have to follow your building codes. And then as soon as he gets his building permit, he just cuts down the tree anyway, right? And I recently had a neighbor of mine sell their home, and there's a big, beautiful tree right on our property line, and she really wanted to keep it. And so we had discussed ways that that tree could be preserved even after her home was sold. And we spoke with the lawyer, and he threw out some ideas like conservation easement or even the timber rights. She could sell me the timber rights so that only I could be the one to cut down that tree. We didn't end up moving forward with either of those options, but I think there are legal avenues that the city could pursue that could be legally enforceable protections for trees on private property. Now, I'm not talking about trespassing for looky-loos, but just if the city is going to give up some sort of or relax some sort of standard that's in our code, then we absolutely must have something in return for that. And that was what the public was asking us for. So this is I don't necessarily have a problem with this program as presented, but I do have a problem with as Councilwoman Duquette pointed out, a lot of the language that's being removed from this code is taking us in the direction directly opposite to what the public was asking us for in our most recent comprehensive plan update. And we're supposed to use our comprehensive plan as the guiding document for everything we do. And so this is going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. We need to be expanding on the protection of trees on private property, not removing the language about protection of trees on private property from our existing code. I mean, this is code that's been on our books for 20 years and it hasn't been a problem so far. Our most recent comprehensive plan talks about preservation of trees, and so did the one before it. So it's not like this is some new program that Councilwoman Duquette is proposing. It's something that the city has identified as a core value for a very long time. And
Councilman Trevor, you're on a roll here, but I think we're going to talk about the program in 24. This item's just, are you conflating the two items? Do you want to talk about that under 24?
I'm talking about this because the code amendment that we're discussing right now specifically removes language that I believe is in direct opposition to the comprehensive plan and the feedback that we heard from the public. And so the two are obviously very closely related. And in fact, they could probably be done as one program rather than two. The things that staff is describing here, I think, are very good ideas and should be moved forward. But I'm very hesitant on these specific code updates. And when I proposed a code update, I specifically left that language in for these reasons.
Yeah, and just one point of clarification, Councilman Schreiber, you mentioned a few times there protecting of private trees on private property, and is that what you meant? Because it's my understanding legally we cannot do much on private property to protect trees in terms of regulation or anything like that. These are strictly incentives that you're talking about, right? Can you state that?
Right, and I wasn't here in 2008 when this code was passed by City Council, and it's been on our books for almost 20 years now. But the title of the code is Protection of Public and Private Historic and Heritage Trees. So I can't speak to what their thought process was when they passed that law, but I would propose that we keep the spirit of that law because we heard from the public that they wanted that spirit preserved.
So Councilor Schreiber, appreciate those comments. The intent of the code update was not to eliminate any sort of protections, but rather to clarify the reality. There are no protections by our existing code today. So that's what you're reading and understanding correctly. So this is intended to create item 6, which is in front of you, to give the city an opportunity to recognize heritage and significant trees and consider them in their right-of-way projects. And then at the latter part of the code, to recognize a voluntary non-regulatory program that could recognize heritage trees. That in of itself would not have any protections. The intent of running those programs would be to educate the community on preserving, protecting, caring for those trees. Once these trees are recognized, we could implement them many ways here at City Hall. This program could evolve. We could, knowing that there's a heritage trees, talk to applicants when they come in the door, have a GIS layer that has these trees on them so we can inform our builders of these heritage trees, connect them with our urban forester on best practices on preserving them during construction. I would see that as a next step, but today there's nothing in code that's actually protecting these trees.
Any other council discussion on this item? It is not an action item.
No, it is not. It's a discussion. Appreciate it.
I lost track of which item we've sort of.
I know.
This is
met
item-
them to-
item-
I know we're on 23, but it seems like we've sort of morphed them into 23 and a half.
Because they're so close.
Well, my recollection of the second meeting in April was that council directed staff to bring forward the code amendment that I proposed. So now we're talking about a completely separate code amendment that again takes us in the opposite direction of what our community has directed us to do through the comprehensive plan. So I guess I'm curious as to why the code amendment that I proposed that council asked staff to move forward with hasn't been moved forward, and now we have a separate code amendment that is also not an action item.
Well,
So,
go ahead, Holly.
Councilor Schreiber, the intent is that staff was giving what you asked for in a organized format that better met our code. If you'd like to see the earlier revision, you're welcome to direct staff in that way. But our intent was to meet what you were asking for.
Yeah, and I just add, Councilman Schreiber, I've seen a lot of code be developed in this city and come forward with council direction, staff works on it, brings it forward. At sometimes, I recall, what staff brings forward when it comes to you for a vote and a hearing. Council makes line for line changes and makes motion to approve those changes and adopts what council wants. So staff is your resource here. It's hard for them to respond to some degree to know what everyone wants. So I think what they've tried to do here is bring something that's defensible, aligned, might not be exactly parallel to what you brought, but I would remind you that when this does come forward for amendment to the code, you have every right as a council member to make a motion to strike a line, add a line back in, and get a vote on it and proceed. So don't forget that as well.
And when do you expect that to happen?
We juggle a lot. We don't want to miss the forest for the trees, pun intended. But every day, staff is working on high priority issues, highest priority issues. Our number one priority is to serve the public every day with permits, with finance, with bills being paid. At the end of the day, there's not always enough time to work on all the projects. So it's something they're actively working on. No one is intentionally slowing it down or throwing gravel in the gear. I defer to staff on their bandwidth based on projects, bids, et cetera, et cetera. So it's happening. But
Well, it just occurs to me that, again, the comprehensive plan is what's supposed to direct the actions of the city. And I don't recall there being anything in the comprehensive plan about Kratom per se. Yet we had a public hearing today about Kratom. And we have given direction to bring forth a public hearing on proposed amendments to our code. And now you're saying that staff doesn't have time for that, but they did have time for another issue that was brought up today.
I brought that issue. Staff, other than legal review, was not involved in the Kratom.
And that's why I asked you, when are you going to bring forth the
Mr.
public
Mayor,
hearing?
if I can weigh in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think a good opportunity to answer that direct question is just to move on to number 24, because I think that, as we kind of discussed, they bleed together, and this is a good thing to put to the Forestry Commission and move from there.
Exactly. Let's try that.
I'm ready to move forward.
All right. Hearing no other council comment, we'll move on to
Holly, thank you.
item 24, new business. The first is a request for staff direction regarding an educational program for heritage trees submitted to council by Councilor Duquette. At this time, I'd yield the floor to Councilwoman Duquette to
Thank you.
introduce and speak on this item. The floor is yours.
Again, I did not realize when I brought this, because I wanted this in a month ago, but we were too busy to get it in. I did not realize 23 was going to be on when I put this forth. And my issue also was that I listened to the last Urban Forestry Committee, and they talked about getting this on the code. And we had talked about it, like you said, at council, and we approved it. And what I understood happened at the meeting was it needed to be put on the agenda, and it hadn't been put on the agenda. So I was this would be my prompt again, to get it on the agenda at the next meeting so that it could be codified, so that we could use that definition to help with what Holly had talked about. I talked to her in her office, and she was talking about making a public right-of-way program to protect trees, heritage trees, and, to give some direction. And so with that, I was hoping that we could then have that going and then promote, with council's approval, direct the commission again to look into how we could create a private property tree protection program, with the public one in the works and the arboriculture manual being worked on and the code, and on the agenda to codify that definition that we had been asking for. And I had just been researching things you can do. I would never expect to force anybody's on their private property. I have beautiful maples. If somebody came and told me I had to cut them down, I would fight, for sure. And I get that. And I don't want anybody to go looking in anybody's backyard for a heritage tree either. And I did the same thing with that pamphlet. I walked around to find all those trees because I wanted to see these beautiful trees that were in that city tree booklet when I first got on council. And I didn't bother anybody either. And it was just fun. And I'm thinking like we could do incentives. I've been reading about cities who offer help monetarily if they've got a tree, like one of the trees that I watched being cut down had been neglected for a while. And this was one of the reasons the property owner didn't want to deal with the tree. And so like if the city had a fund, like we have money that's set aside for emergencies, I know, and now into the urban forestry budget, we could help them. And so that's what I'm looking for, is ways we could help private property owners desire to save trees on their property. And that would be one way to help with education, to help. How do you do that? How do you shape that tree now so that it's going to continue to live on your property and add all the things that we all know? I could list all the things that trees do for us, but I'm sure we all know or have heard those and understand those. But there's also Moscow, Haley, Coeur d'Alene, McCall, Boise. They've all been working on this. In Spokane, there was just an article in the newspaper about Spokane is coming forward with a private property tree protection program. And their city council is starting it also. And so I don't know, it's just something I would like to propose to get the commission to work on, the Forestry Commission, and, see if we could get education out there, why they're important to save, and, that we would help. I wrote all my notes, but it's been a long night. Incentives for private property owners. Hold on. Because I know that one was helping with the money to prevent cutting trees, come up with alternative solutions, have a process for tree preservation, that there's a review process to help so that you could approve somebody cutting a tree down if it's necessary. I know one person was cutting it down because of insurance, maybe working when insurance companies are interesting to work with. Reduce building permit costs, expedite permit processes, offer cost benefits to help with the care. Like I said, require a permit to take out a heritage tree unless it's dead and diseased. But it's a buy-in. It's get the private sector to buy in. It's not to force anybody to do anything, but it's to share why it's a benefit for everybody. It's not just a benefit for the people who have the tree. It's for all of us. It mitigates the urban heat island effect. It reduces stormwater runoff, expands overall urban canopy. I read that the USDA has said that 56% of forest land is on privately owned property. So that's a lot. That's a lot of forests that we could be helping manage, especially these days where these big, beautiful, our city, big, beautiful lots are being just willy-nilly cut down for development for concrete and impervious surface. And if we could get together and offer, you guys are the experts, I'm not saying that staff is the experts, are the experts. They could come up with ideas and look at these other cities doing things, and the council could help. And I don't know, that was my plan.
Councilwoman Duquette, I have a question.
Okay.
Would it be acceptable to get a consensus from council that they approve?
It's kind of what I wanted.
To direct staff to work with the Urban Forest Commission to come up with a legally defensible incentive program that could partner with the current code with some modifications, should you choose, that's being proposed tonight.
Thank you. Why didn't you help me fill out that?
You didn't ask.
That staff report that poor Cheryl was trying to help me work on. I didn't realize we had to go through the whole staff report now instead of just our agenda request form. She spent a lot of time with me. We went back and forth. I could have used your wordage as well. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Duquette?
Yes.
I have a question following up on Fonda's question. In your agenda report, part of recommendation and request of action is referencing the definition, defining or developing a definition, or requesting the Urban Forestry Commission do so. a definition of a heritage tree. Are you requesting a different definition?
No. And if I misworded that, I want the definition that the council listened to and that we all approved to be codified, which is what's in there now. And I could look at like I said, that agenda report surprised me that I had to write so much. So I don't think that's not what I asked for. I hope that's not what it reads. I'd have to look at it again.
I
wanted this definition codified so that we could move on with it and use it as the basis for these tree protection programs.
The current 5 definitions, is that?
Yes, the developed.
Current definition with 5 categories.
Yes, the red lined definitions, yes.
Understood, just wanted to make sure I would.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sorry if it's confusing, but like I said, it's.
Mr. Mayor?
Council President?
I would like to make a suggestion that we, if we agree to direct staff to bring this back as an action item, if there are some pieces and parts that Councilman Schreiber does not like, if you read through, come back with some amendments, and then we can decide as a council. And then maybe we put a timeline on this that council can agree upon when they would like to see this back as an action item. I think that's the intent that I'm hearing from both of you. You'd like to see it as an action item. You'd like to have a time frame on that. And maybe I am going to say that I know you guys have been asking for it for a long time. We all know, we've learned that staff is many-pronged. They have lots of things to work on. So maybe we ask them what they feel like a reasonable time is, since we have them in the room and we can all hear what they have to say about that. Would you be agreeable to moving in that direction? This is not an action item, but we can give direction up here.
Right, I did write it as an action
Yeah,
item.
24 is an action item.
24.
To get council agreement to direct staff
Agenda
to
for
direct.
heritage.
Action, City Council to direct staff to include the Urban Forest Commission agenda, the development of a definition of heritage tree that can.
Okay, action sheet, okay.
Later
I was
adopted.
confused because usually in the line item, it says action on there, and that's what I was referencing.
And
So
I
I
was
got
con-
lost in that.
I was
Okay.
confused having to do
This
the
is-
new form.
Which is why I was suggesting the action item would
Great
be
page.
Right.
direct staff to work with the Urban Forest Commission to create a legally defensible private property heritage tree incentive program,
Yes.
along with refining the code that has been provided to you tonight to bring back for final approval as a single ordinance.
Right. I'm sorry. I missed that just because in the full meeting agenda, I did not see it listed as an action item in what I'm looking at, but I'm looking at the HTML. So
Is there a motion to direct staff to work with the Urban Forestry Commission to come up with a legally defensible private property tree protection incentive program and revisions to the heritage tree program to bring back as soon as possible?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
So I appreciate Eric catching that, because I had the same question when I read the agenda
my
report, which
language.
is the Urban Forestry Commission has already
Right.
accepted and recommended these definitions. We don't need to go back to them.
No,
for that.
and that's,
And so I want to be very clear when we make
of
this
course.
direction to staff, do not bring this back to them. They are sick of talking about it.
Good.
They're ready to move on to other things.
Direct staff to include on the Forestry Commission agenda, the prepared definition of a heritage tree.
Okay, great.
It's
I
that-
just wanted to make sure we're on the
Yes,
same page.
and I think that part's clear.
As far as working towards a program for private property, I think that the Planning and Zoning Commission also needs to be involved in that. I'll leave it up to staff to decide whether it goes to urban forestry first and then planning and zoning, whatever the most reasonable progression is. But I don't want to wait, because that should take a long time. We need to be very deliberate about that. So I don't want to wait until we have that done to update our code with these definitions. We're ready for them. Let's do it.
I want that code, that definition to be there so we can move on.
Right.
We can't talk about a heritage
That's
tree.
very clear.
If we, okay.
And as I said earlier, I'm not entirely comfortable with the proposed changes to code in item number 23, because they remove language that I think is supported by our comprehensive plan. So I would propose that we direct staff to bring forward the code amendment that I proposed at the April 20th meeting, I think it was, and do that now, and then also direct staff to work on this bigger project that is very likely going to take a year or more.
Exactly what I wanted.
So I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Just to be clear, motion by Schreiber to bring back Councilman Schreiber's definition of a heritage tree.
Code amendment. I had a code amendment.
Code amendment for heritage tree. And do you remember the date you brought that forward?
Look it up.
That's okay. We'll find it. And then secondarily, engage the Urban Forestry Commission and ultimately the Planning and Zoning Commission if there's incentives to protect heritage trees on private property. Is that
Mr.
motion
Mayor?
correct?
I'm going to struggle with that motion simply because we don't have public access to that piece included in your particular thing with all the materials that are here.
And we should probably have some clarity on what the council motion and approval was in April, because my recollection was council's vote, if it was in April, I don't remember the exact date, was to send those definitions back to staff for staff to come back with a more robust overall program, which is what's been done here, a program that includes those definitions. So we should probably revisit what council's direction was at that last meeting first. Because
I have
think staff.
the meeting
firmly-
minutes in front of me if you'd like.
What date was that?
What was the
April
motion?
15th. The motion, Counselor Tate made a motion to advance the heritage tree categories and definitions to staff and legal for further consideration. Seconded by Torres, passed unanimous.
Yeah, so the legal considerations and the inclusion of more robust language regarding a program was what was discussed that night. That was the whole purpose. So
It doesn't say program in the minutes.
we might have to look back at the video. I just want staff brought you tonight what they believed they were directed to bring you. So if that is not what you as a council want, then you don't have an action item on number 23, you only have an action item on number 24. So be really clear on number 24, what you're directing staff to do.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, I do appreciate the work that was done, and I do think that the proposal is a good one and should move forward as well. But I think that the code changes that I've proposed have already been in public as part of the April 15th meeting. So it's appropriate to say, let's just move forward with that as a motion right now. And also instruct staff to develop a program for protecting trees on private property as well, an incentive program.
And Councilman Schreiber, honestly, the fastest way I can think of to get that definition amended into our code is for you to bring an ordinance as a council member and request it be placed on the agenda.
He did.
Like I did?
That's right.
Yeah, no,
Well, April 15th.
bring it back again and have the council vote on it.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it now.
I mean, I'm just saying that's the fastest way.
Faster than having it right.
Doesn't seem very
tonight.
fast. Because we're sitting here talking about it right now, and I already did that a month ago.
Yeah, and the council's decision was not to adopt the ordinance.
It wasn't a public hearing, so we couldn't.
Well, there's two ways to approach it, and I think we all hear you. I think it's just the challenge we're at now is how do we form this into a motion that
Right.
accomplishes
Okay.
council's goal?
If you could reiterate your language.
Well,
It
so
sounded
under
good.
the belief that staff was directed to take the definitions that were created by the Urban Forest
Yes.
Commission
That you already.
and build around those definitions a public right-of-way program and a voluntary program.
Right.
That's what they did. That's what they brought back for discussion tonight.
Okay, that's the public.
That was item number 23, to discuss with you the bigger program that they thought they were directed to build based on the April 15th meeting. Second to that, Councilwoman Duquette, you brought up very good points about a private property incentive program that both you and Councilman Schreiber are absolutely correct will take some time to build and likely require planning and zoning as well as urban forest commission. And so secondary to what's been brought to you tonight for a discussion was the idea of sending back to the Urban Forest Commission the task of building a legally defensible private property heritage tree incentive program.
And I thought we had to have that definition in code of a heritage tree to do that.
And you could, if tonight you said, this is a great start, staff, bring it back as an ordinance at the next meeting so that we can have a public hearing on it and get these definitions in code, you could do that. But that's not the direction I think that any of us are hearing.
Okay.
I think what we're hearing is disregard the work you've done from April 15th until now and only bring back what Councilman Schreiber and the Urban Forest Commission proposed on April 15th.
Okay.
Holly, did I say that correctly?
I think you covered it
The
perfectly.
last meeting I watched of the Urban Forestry Committee, there was discussion of the heritage tree definition, and it was asked to put it into code, and we could watch it again at home another time. And I thought I heard it needed to be on the agenda before it could be moved through the committee. Is that?
Here's the question. Do you want what's before you tonight to come back as a proposed ordinance, or do you only want what the Urban Forest Commission presented before through Councilman Schreiber? That's the question.
I wanted
for
the
now
definition to be in code so we could use it to do these.
Which definition?
The definitions are the same.
They're the same.
The organization, so Counselor Schreiber put together a proposed ordinance that kept a lot of the historical language, added the definitions from the Urban Forestry Commission. Staff took that. We made tweaks to it. Purpose of our tweaks were to clarify that defining a heritage tree on its own does not provide protections. We do not have any protections for heritage trees. So for clarity in our code, we tweaked the language to identify an alignment with what it is, which is a recognition program, understanding that there are no protections for heritage trees. We just have definitions. With that, we did put in the public right-of-way portion an item where the city can protect its heritage trees in our right-of-way. So that those are the differences between the two ordinances. The definitions themselves are the same.
Thanks, Holly.
This is the definition you brought.
Yep, and that's the only change I made was to add those definitions. Yeah.
And that
It was a very simple code change.
Well, I don't, Councilman Schreiber, I don't, and Councilwoman Duquette, I don't believe there's any resistance to trying to get what you want before this body.
We're just
So
trying
I
to
think
get
it's
it.
just the technicalities of it.
Nice.
So as for item number 24,
Yes.
I really appreciate Fonda Legal's recommendation, which is to the action item is to instruct staff to bring to the Urban Forestry Commission the request to develop a private property heritage tree preservation incentive program.
I believe I already made a motion, didn't I?
It got lost, I think, in a lot of stuff. Maybe if you did, if you want to repeat it, I don't think I have the capacity to repeat it. And
We never seconded it. I think you were starting, so.
yeah, we devolved.
Mr. Mayor, Council, if I may briefly, being that Urban Forestry Commission has already, considered these definitions for numerous meetings, voted on them, so forth. I might recommend that it might be best that this first goes and is discussed by the Planning and Zoning Commission as or perhaps we engage a consultant. The Fonda's point of legally defensible private property preservation, heritage tree preservation, I think is really challenging for a volunteer committee to, undertake from the legally defensible side of things. I think there's all sorts of ideas that can be discussed in either a planning and zoning commission meeting or an urban forestry commission meeting. But I think it's that's rising to another level. You know, we have to be very careful, of course, on things as it relates to private property.
Yeah,
But I just want to make sure we're
I'll
clear.
understand that.
appreciate that. And I think where the council wants to go is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Schreiber, but incentives could be reduced setbacks, flexibility on building placement on the lot, things like
Help-
that, if there were a heritage
Help
tree.
with
So I believe it, we need to
money.
get the root of what is the incentive and then what's the mechanism for incentivizing it, so to speak. So, Councilman Schreiber, I'd love it if you could take another shot at a motion and we can get a second and move on, if you feel like this is pretty clear.
Sure. I move to instruct staff to bring forth the proposed code change from April 15th and also instruct staff, as a public hearing so it can be adopted into code, and also instruct staff to engage Planning and Zoning and the Urban Forestry Commission in an effort to create a program that incentivizes the protection of heritage trees on private property.
Beautiful. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Schreiber, second by Duquette. Any discussion, council?
I'm just going to be totally open and honest. I have no idea what we're talking about anymore. So I couldn't tell you that I could vote one way or another because I'm confused between what staff was directed to do, and I think they mostly did what they were directed to do, and now we're adding a private piece to it, which is a whole nother thing that is probably not going to be able to be done in committee because there's a big legal component to defensibility. So I don't really, and I'm not familiar with what happened in April because I couldn't read back through it. So I'm not opposed to direction. I'm just want to be very aware of staff's ability to accomplish the task that we're giving them and to make sure that I'm voting for what I think I'm voting for.
I'll try to clarify Council President rule. There's two elements. One is to bring back that original ordinance for a hearing on heritage tree, changing that definition in code. And then the second element is to initiate this private property heritage tree protection incentive program that would go through urban forestry, be checked by legal, come to planning and zoning to understand if there's incentives such as setback reductions, building footprint, things like that, that could be paired with that as the incentive. That's as I understand it.
So it's going to come back, the ordinance that Kyle's referring to would come back, so public would have access to read that, we'd have access to process through that.
Public hearing,
And we would have debate and could change or amend at that point.
always.
Okay, I'm clear then.
If you would like, I can drop this part of it and just get the heritage.
No, I think we're we're just about there.
Okay. I did not realize it was going to.
Any other council discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
just to clarify, when I proposed that code change, I intentionally only added the definitions that were recommended by the Urban Forestry Commission. I made no other code changes, so I didn't add any language about private protection that wasn't already in our code, if that helps.
Okay.
Hearing no other discussions, will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Roll,
Because we'll get to look at this again, I'll say yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The final item on the agenda was also requested by Councilwoman Duquette on making Sandpoint a dark sky community. I'll now yield the floor to Councilwoman Duquette at 7:54.
Okay. Again, all I'm looking for is staff, council to tell me if they are interested in at all. There's no action to becoming a dark sky community, registering with International Dark Sky Organization. We already have, and I sent 3 high-level, I could have sent you a 14-page packet on the program overview, and I could have sent you the 13 slides that the Dark Sky organization has sent me on all the steps required. I just wanted to throw a high level, because I knew there was a lot going on tonight, thing to show what is involved. And it's like a 3-year, 1 to 3 year process. However, we already have a lighting code in our city. People didn't know that. People have come forward and been really excited about that. I have had people come up and talk about dark skies. We've had presentations. We've had proclamations. It seems everybody is interested in the benefits, the health benefits, the benefits to wildlife, the benefits to be able to see the Milky Way that we are part of, which is so hard to understand when you see it, that we are in that. I am wanting to know if anybody has the interest in pursuing getting a designation as a dark sky community. Again, Cheryl helped me with the drafting of this.
Council, any comment or question? I think it's quite clear. Are we interested in pursuing a dark sky community designation?
And I could briefly tell you what it would be and the process. And my idea was to maybe perhaps talk to sustainability committee, see if somebody on there would be interested in taking a lead on this, because I do not want to get staff more involved in something else, because this does take an intermediary person. These are just, let me just throw out my ideas. The designation benefits, brings recognition of efforts made by a community, government, residents, and or public and private organizations to protect the night sky and the nocturnal environment dependent on it. It enhances awareness of dark sky matters on the part of the community, residents, and visitors. So, like I said, I can send links for you to peruse on your own at your time, whatever time benefits you, to look at all of this, to see. The big point is you have to have a dark sky code. You have to have a nighttime code of lighting, and we have that. And that is the thing that takes the longest. So since we've already got that, it's pretty much, there's a $250 application fee, and it's working closely with these folks to just become another amazing community, or another notch in our feather in our cap to be as amazing as we can be. That's all. I just wondered if there's an interest. I know everybody was.
Let's go down the row.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Council President.
I guess I would say that this is something that I've been somewhat passionate about after experiencing dark skies, doing a lot of backpacking. I believe we did touch on this in our strategic planning a little bit. And I think a lot of the counselors were in agreement. With that said, I would fall back to our ability to enforce. So I think that that would take a lot of thought. And also a timeline with bandwidth for staff, which you pointed out. So maybe this is something that we can process through the strategic plan, and maybe there's a little bit longer of a timeline since we have sewage and now we have some more tree stuff we'd like to manage, because when the trees go away, they're harder to get back. You can always pull out light bulbs if the dark sky goes away. It's less permanent. So I guess I would suggest that we look at more of a 3 to 5 year timeline relative to our strategic plan with this. So we're not constantly bombarding staff with all of our great ideas. I think in order for this to really work, not in name only, we'd have to have some time devoted from staff, and again, enforcement pieces and lots of things to work out. But I feel like a 3 to 5 year timeline could be reasonable. And if I don't care about the designation as much as I actually care about the physical sense of us maybe getting a much darker sky, even beyond the regulations that are currently in our ordinance. Although they're acceptable on that time frame, I don't think that they are, not time frame, but acceptable as dark sky fixtures. I think they could actually be more stringent for a beautiful small town in North Idaho.
I agree.
Any other council discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Council President summed up all of my thoughts, and I support that 3 to 5 year timeline.
And that's what they do recommend it takes. And yeah, and it would be a community buy-in. It's not, the only enforcement we already have going is the lighting code that we already have. It would be a commitment. It would be.
Councilman Torres?
I feel like any city that can see the northern lights and we can see it even better with this opportunity, I think that that's a win just right there. From what I understand, that this also helps people save energy and money as well. And as a conservationist, protecting wildlife and allowing them to live freely in the night as opposed to in the day. So I support you on this as well.
Mr. Mayor, just one further comment that I might include us in that wildlife statement. A lot of artificial lighting that comes into your own home can really affect your own sleep cycles too. So this is kind of a health and wellness issue on some levels.
Council, my only question on this is, our city limits end at a line. Is there an opportunity here to collaborate with Pend Oreille? I mean, we could have the darkest town in the world and
I know.
they have lights shining up in the sky. Should this be a regional effort or a community effort between Dover and Kootenai, or maybe even a county effort? I don't know if it should be expanded.
If I can say, I already know that Dover has talked about it. They've also invited Sue Ann, who came here to speak there, because I have a friend who's on planning and zoning. I know Dover would probably be easy to pull in. Yeah, the lights in Pend Oreille might be an issue, but you had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I also feel like this will bring a new set of tourists to the community as well. For stargazers, I think they would seek out communities like ours to see the beautiful stars that we have here. So it's another opportunity for us to bring folks in.
May I add one more thing that you said? You had an idea, you had a vision of a piece of property we had up on Baldy and setting up a telescope. I mean, all of those ideas are what I think would come out of this. If we all wanted to pursue it, no hurry, for sure.
Great.
So can I send you these links to read at your own leisure so that you can see more? Okay, thanks. Legal, would you like to see these links?
All right.
Yes,
Sending these to other counselors, maybe send them to one person.
of course, of course. I think I've learned that.
All right, council members, thank you for your time tonight. With no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Schreiber, second by Rule. Meeting is adjourned at 8:04.
My apologies.